Morning, all. All right, so we have 3 games tonight in the NHL, which means a mixing of news of the day and the preview video. And hey, look at that! I got these magnets for all 6 teams that are playing tonight. So bonus. So it's 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. We will see the Buffalo Sabres and the Toronto Maple Leafs renewing their rivalry. Toronto's won both meetings this year, and while Buffalo has a really good road record, I'm taking Toronto for this one. Toronto won November 19th by a score of 5-3. They won February 21st by a score of 6-3. Over their last 10 games, Buffalo's 4-5-1. That's how they've arrived at the 32-28-5 record, and also how they've fallen 7 points behind the New York Islanders in that final playoff spot. And I just see that as being a little bit too much for them to make up. So for Buffalo, it's disappointing where they find themselves with a win tonight. You know, they'd pull within 5 points because the Islanders don't play. But again, it does kind of feel like they've fallen out of the hunt. Toronto 40-17-8. Their last 10 games, they're 7-3. They're 4 points clear of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Again, Tampa Bay's not playing, so they can get 6 points ahead of Tampa with a win and just really solidify their spot in second place in the division, which is what they've been doing over the last 3 weeks. So yeah, we'll see how that one goes. Also at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, the Colorado Avalanche and the Montreal Canadiens. These teams met December 21st in Colorado. It was a 2-1 overtime win for the Avalanche that night. Colorado's 36-22-6 overall. Their last 10 games, they're 6-3-1. They're 1 point behind Winnipeg. They're 5 points clear of Nashville and Calgary. On the Montreal side, they're 26-34-6 overall. Their last 10 games, they're 3-5-2. They're 28 points behind the New York Islanders in that final playoff spot. But again, Montreal playing loose. And it's fun hockey to watch a lot of the time with Montreal. And so we'll see how the Avs do. If the Avs don't bring their A game, Montreal's absolutely capable of an upset. Then we get to 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific. One of those rare occasions where a team stays in the same city and plays that team twice. Dallas is playing Seattle again. This rounds out their season series. Or doesn't round out their season series. I'm just used to that rounding out season series, but this one's 3 games over like 10 days. So March 11th, a 4-3 win for Dallas in overtime. I'm still surprised. And the third and final meeting will be March the 21st in Dallas. So for the Stars, they're 36-17-13. They've been riding the ship lately. They're 6-3-1 in their last 10. They're 1 point ahead of Minnesota, who lost in overtime last night. They are 6 points clear of the Winnipeg Jets. So they can make up some space, some ground on teams behind them. And on the Seattle side, there's 37-22-7 overall. Easy for me to say. Last 10 games are 5-4-1. They've been up and down. The thing is with Seattle, they're far enough above the playoff line that they should be fine. They're 4 points behind LA. They're 1 point ahead of Edmonton. So if they play 500 hockey from here the rest of the way, yeah, they still end up in the playoffs because that'd be 97 points overall. So yeah, we'll see how things go for these teams tonight. You can let me know who you believe will win each game in the comment section below, as always. And yeah, it should be a fun one. So Ottawa, I want to get into the news side, starting with Ottawa because we're talking about who's in and who's out here, and Buffalo kind of falling out, Dallas getting it back together. Ottawa with the back-to-back losses in regulation against Vancouver and Calgary. It really feels like this has pulled them out of the race. The team after the game last night talking about how disappointed they are. I understand that. The future's really bright in Ottawa, though. That's what needs to be focused on, too. Is that this is a team that stayed in the race far longer than they have in previous seasons, and that's something Buffalo fans should be focused on as well. The future's really bright, as I've been saying with Detroit as well. The Atlantic could be absolutely ridiculous next season, and say 5 years down the road, we might be talking about the juggernauts that are Ottawa, Buffalo, and Detroit if they can keep that young team together, and depending on what happens with Toronto. Because Toronto has some good young players. It feels like Boston and Tampa, 5 years from now, probably kind of long in the tooth. Toronto, it's going to be how they negotiate and navigate the extensions for guys like Matthews and Marner and whatnot. But for Ottawa, the future is really bright, so that's what needs to be focused on. Mark Jankowski has signed a 1-year extension with the Nashville Predators. League minimum, $775,000. The league minimum goes up by $25,000 next season. So yeah, Jankowski has had a decent season with Nashville, and again, that's what it is. You know, when you're signing a guy for $775,000, There is no risk to it. If you send that contract to the minors, the entire contract comes off of your books. And so Jankowski, I think he's played well at points for Nashville, and I'm glad to see a team re-sign him because it feels like he's kind of started bouncing around the league. Phil DiGiuseppe, who has been impressive for me in call-ups for Vancouver. He knows his role and he plays it well enough to keep getting call-ups. 2-year extension for DiGiuseppe at $775,000 per season. Two-way contract, but with just DiGiuseppe, I'm been impressed with him thus far, and I'm glad they're keeping him around. I think that's a good thing to do. You've got to have guys you can call up who fit into the lineup. One thing that I try to talk about on this channel regularly is that there are some teams that guys get called up from the AHL and it's just a seamless transition. And quietly, Vancouver has started to look like that, where guys come up from Abbotsford and they just kind of fit right in. There's no, oh, that's the new guy, he doesn't know what he's doing kind of thing. So, yeah, I'm actually approving of the way that they're handling their AHL affiliate right now, and the way they're deciding who gets called up and who doesn't, and all that. They actually seem to have a plan going here, and good on them for that. So this is rough news. Only, and I say this because I like Gutman. Gutman's a good story. A player who's come up and he's played well enough for Chicago. And you have these stories every year where guys come up, maybe they've been bouncing around for a while, and they finally get that chance. Well, Gutman, who again I think has been impressive for Chicago over the last couple of weeks, his season is over. He is to have shoulder surgery. So that's too bad. Hopefully, Gutman has a decent chance at making their lineup next year. I don't know what to expect with Chicago over the summer, though. I don't know if they're going to try to do like some kind of a major revamp, and if they're going to spend money they have in cap space in order to upgrade their team, or if they're going to say, no, it's another rough year for us in 2023, 2024. And I say that because if they decide not to replenish that lineup with established veteran guys, Gutman should have a good shot at a job next year. So, yeah, all the best to him and his recovery. So the draft lottery, and I will be discussing the draft lottery a little bit more once we get to the end of the season. We know who's finishing where. Columbus still leads the Bedard Watch, the sweepstakes. They have a 25% chance of drafting first. 47 points, 65 games. I will say that the Columbus organization could really use a superstar like Bedard. And no offense to Johnny Gaudreau, no offense to Rick Nash, no offense to Panarin and guys who've played there before. But, yeah, it feels like Bedard would be a franchise-transforming presence. That being said, San Jose could use that as well. They have 50 points in 67 games. 50 points in 66 games for Chicago. And Anaheim has pulled themselves kind of sort of out of this conversation. They have 54 points in 67 games. So while Chicago could catch them, I don't think San Jose necessarily does. It looks like the Ducks have pulled themselves a pretty healthy amount away. And I'll get into the percentages and all that once the season's done and we get ready for the draft lottery, which will not be very long after the season's done. And we always have the live stream during the draft lottery. It's always a fun one to have. And I think of the 4 teams on the board, first off, all 4 of these teams could use a Connor Bedard. They could also all use a Fantilli. There's a bunch of guys who are going to be very good players at the top of this draft, top 4, top 5. And so all of these teams should do very well for themselves if these end up being your bottom 4 at the draft table. But that number 1 pick, that's the one that teams really want right now. And so let me know in the comment section below of the 4 teams that are on this board. So it looks a little bit crooked. 4 teams on this board. Which one would you most like to see get that draft pick? Honestly, for me, I think it would be, for me, it's between Columbus and San Jose, because I think they both desperately need that star forward, young star forward. In the case of San Jose, they have star players, but they could use an injection of that youthful energy and all that, and it would really help turn things around. And just imagine Karlsson sticking around and being on the same team as Bedard. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.